Hello, Connective. So we are combining the psychic reading cards with the mediumship training deck again. Looking for one card from each deck to fall out to talk about today. Let's see what comes out. Right now I'm pulling from the psychic reading cards. Looking for this one card. Hopefully a brand new card we've never gotten before. But either way, we haven't pulled too many psychic mediumship cards together, so no matter what the combination is, we probably haven't gotten it before. So as soon as one wants to come out, we'll see what it is. Okay. Wow. Meditation. Got a similar card recently. It was meditate every day. I think it was the mediumship cards, the ones I have in my hand right now. Okay, hold on. I'm going to take a bunch of them fell. We're going to take the first one, which is impressions versus expression. Wow. So, what an interesting combination. I think before we actually talk, wow. Oh, wow. What a good combination. Okay. Let's read it. First of all, for the psychic reading cards, meditation is card number 22. That's a great picture. It's part of the reason why I have this deck, but also because these cards really, they kind of speak for themselves. You sort of know what they are, but if you've watched my videos before, you've probably heard me say that I like to read the book, partially because if you had this deck at home and you were really familiar with this card, you may not need me to read the book. But if you never was going to buy this deck or didn't have it or was watching this for the first time, you can enjoy this reading without having to have the deck, So also, but that's not the reason. The reason why I read the books is because a lot of times what'll happen is I'll read the book about this and then I'll read the card about this and they'll tie in together. And a lot of times when I'm doing personal readings for myself, that's helpful. And that's why I like to read the book. But I don't always do it either. Depends on how much time I have, what I'm reading about, what's going on, what feeling I get. Sometimes I'll throw 15 cards on the table, look at them for 2 minutes, and I'm done, So it just depends. It depends on what's going on. So anyway, let's read meditation. Meditate to free your mind and connect to the universe today. You have received this card as the universe wants to make contact with you through meditation. When you take the time to stop, still your mind, and reconnect with the universe, you will be surprised by the guidance you receive. The psychic reading card of meditation is a gentle reminder that you need to take time out for yourself. Listen to the guidance from the universe and the wise beings that reside within the spirit realm. Taking time out to meditate helps you to clear your mind and find clarity and insight into your journey ahead. Your brain is constantly bombarded with information and mindless chatter that can dull your connection to the universe and spirit realms. Sometimes you need to disconnect from the earthly realms and reboot your brain so you can perform at your natural spiritual state of divine connection. Do you ever feel like you don't have enough time to meditate? Do you procrastinate and feel that meditation is not for you? Do you worry that you don't even know how to meditate? I'm happy to tell you that the universe has your back and you need not worry about how to meditate. Just know that you can. Meditation can come in many forms. You don't have to sit in the lotus position with your arms and legs crossed and your eyes tightly shut to make contact with spirit and the universe. All you need to do is make time, even just as short as 5 to 10 minutes a day. You can meditate just by sitting quietly. If you're a busy person and find it hard to sit still, meditate while moving, such as going for a walk or to the gym. taking a swim, or even in the shower. You may choose to meditate by sitting quietly and looking at a candle flame and writing messages you receive in your spiritual journal. Don't worry about what type of meditation you do. It is more important to make the time to still your mind, to listen to the universal guidance you receive from above and feel inner peace. So, before I read this card, I do want to address something as far as, what I read in here in this book about meditation. And it just brought back a story for me of how, for a while I was trying to, I knew I needed to meditate, and I was, but because I wasn't doing a certain type of meditation, I was always giving myself a hard time, almost like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing because I wasn't doing this certain type of meditation. And so I really want to, and I think I did mention it in another video. Like I said, I will try to link these videos together when they're talking about similar stuff, because we don't talk about things necessarily in the same context, but it's basically reinforcing everything, and probably important for you to hear, especially if you're one of those people that does have problems meditating. But like I said, if you do have trouble actually sitting down and setting that time aside to meditate, remember it really only takes a few minutes. And please be mindful of whatever type of meditation that you choose to do. Acknowledge it for yourself. Maybe even name it, be aware of what kind of meditation you're doing. I did a chakra healing today. I did an aura healing today. I did a liver healing today. I put on theta waves, and I sat there, I looked at a candle flame, and, I contemplated and raising my vibration. Whatever it is you did, like I said, the book, about writing in your spiritual journal, if you really aren't sure, if you're kind of like, well, I feel like I'm meditating, write in the journal every day what you're meditating about, so that you can go back and say, yes, absolutely, I'm meditating. Okay, so here's the time I'm spending doing this. Maybe I'd like to do this kind of meditation, or maybe I'd like to do different kinds of meditations. But like I said, no matter what kind of meditation that you're doing for yourself, give yourself credit for it. Even if it's a few minutes, just give yourself credit for it. And I want to read this card before I talk about it and I tie it all together. So let me do that. Impression versus expression. So there are multiple ways that we receive information from spirit. It could be in words, images, or feelings, but how we relay or express the information back to the recipient must be carried out with due consideration and utmost care and sensitivity. Many mediums are taught that you should always give what you get when delivering a message. In a sense, that's true. But as mediums, we must honor that many people look to us to assist them with their grief and are often still distraught no matter how much time has passed since their loss. Always remember that while we must be open to any spiritual impression, we are responsible for conveying a sensitive expression. People pass over to the spirit world in a variety of ways, from natural causes, unexpected illnesses, or other circumstances. When you give off information, it's a delicate process. For example, if you're impressed with a scene of someone's passing, then you must be sensitive and discerning when you express the information to the sitter. It's possible they could be very emotional as they're still going through the bereavement process. They don't need to relive every detail of the experience again. Communicating that you're aware of a type of passing and, if possible, which area of their body was affected, as well as the relationship to the sitter, is often enough evidence for the recipient. Be kind and compassionate, as having an inherent sensitive nature is always a great asset for any medium to possess. Well, that actually is interesting the way they put it, because it kind of reminded me of, well, actually a couple mediums that I've watched. Maybe a few now that I'm kind of going through them, what I've seen. But Yeah, a lot of times when they're talking to someone, let me back up. Sometimes, even if you're not a practicing medium, I mean, like you're not, like you don't do readings and connect people and that whole kind of thing. Even if you like have made peace with the fact that you're a medium, or even if not, but definitely if you have, what happens a lot of time is if you get yourself into a situation where you're in like a normal setting, but you're talking about life after death in any form. It could be something that you consider to be so mild. Sometimes that whatever statement you made, like, will mess with a person's belief system. So, especially if you're trying to deliver a message, well, first of all, it's kind of like the card says. You don't want to shock the crap out of the person to the point where they either don't want to believe it or don't want to listen. But if you deliver the message the way the person's parent would deliver the message in that capacity and that aspect, a lot of times that does get the point across as well. Oh my God, you said it just like how my mom would, or whatever, something like that, But I love this card because, even when I bought this card, this deck, I didn't really know what to expect. I wasn't 100% ready for this deck, but I thought to just start before I'm ready. and I dragged you guys into it. So when I bought it, I didn't know what was in it. I didn't know what to expect. And to some degree, I still don't, a lot of these cards I haven't popped out yet, But I will tell you that I'm glad that this card is here because it's not talked about enough about taking in the information and what you give out. Like this card talked about, saying, you give what you get or whatever. But, as a responsible reader, any kind of reader, I don't care if you're a tarot reader, you have to really... well, I was going to say respect how you deliver the information to someone, not only that by your standards, but what you perceive. It's funny. This card is staring at me. I put the card deck down face up, and this card is staring at me. And this is what we're talking about, to be mindful of the way that we deliver information to people because, first of all, as a base, their belief system may not be the same as yours. And you may say something that really might knock them off their rocker, first of all. And if you are trying to deliver a message to someone, you might kill it just by, getting them to the point where they're not open or receptive anymore, first of all. That's the very, bottom thing. But, talking also about, a person, like a specific person, like a lot of times, especially going way back, they would talk about like a sister being someone next to them and a father being someone, above them or older than them, and, a grandfather, same, and, kind of a thing. So a lot of times it's expressed the same, throughout different mediums. They could express like parental figures and children figures, pretty much the same as each other. But on top of that, again, my mother tripped over, I'm not saying this is my mother, but I'm saying as an example, my mother tripped over and hit her head, and fell in the pool is a little bit different than, my mother's liver stopped working. The difference between the liver and the head. So when you can just say a part of the body, you don't have to go into detail. Now, sometimes, as a side note, when you're a medium, you're doing a reading, I've seen enough of them, even just little clips of them where people want to know stuff. You're communicating with the other side. You can always, if you can't feel it, because a lot of times I can see these mediums using their empathic abilities. If you can't feel it, you can always ask that person's loved one, should I tell them that? Or that person's loved one, they come through with information, but they don't want to give their loved one any information that's going to trigger them. And so what this card is saying is be mindful of, when you're taking in the information, how you're telling that person, how you're expressing it. Maybe even before you get yourself into a situation where you have to deliver something that's sensitive, you can just already decide how you're going to deliver that information. Super helpful. Well, I'm going to mention this part of the body, and I'm going to mention who it is, and I'm just going to ask them if they understand, or, however it goes, so that you can, if they want you to elaborate at that point, you can move forward from there. But, sometimes it might be enough for them. They may not need any additional information. And like I said, you can always ask, how should I deliver this? What should I look for? Even before a reading, you can say, what do I think? What do I think? There's a good possibility that someone might even come, if you were going to do a reading and you did a meditation, somebody might come to you ahead of time and just say, what, don't tell them how I passed. They don't need to know. That will kill them, or whatever is going on, Again, loved ones won't deliver information that is going to make that other person more upset. So, be that responsible, be that responsible deliverer of information, and say it in a way that's balanced. Wow, I just noticed that. Say it in a way that's balanced so that the person can understand without having to fully, process it, because you gave it to them in a way where you knew they would get it. Honestly, it's part of your job as a medium to, even as a medium, part of your job is to kind of sort of filter what comes in, filter who talks to you and what they talk about sometimes and when they talk to you sometimes. And, you can say, hey, I'm not interested in listening to any troublemaker ancestors or, whatever else is going on. And I'm not taking that impression. Thank you so much. By the way, that's what this sentence meant when it said, for example, if you're impressed with a scene of someone's passing, then you must be sensitive and discerning when you express the information to the sitter. Impress, seen, feel. A lot of times there's going to be feeling involved, so that the person can convey easily. They might just say it. I tripped. Whatever. However that's happening. I just had a flashback of Matt Fraser, saying, hey, they say that they hit their head, and it's kind of like sometimes it can actually really be that vague. And then the person will say, yes, they tripped over a lawn chair and they hit their head and fell in the pool, and it's enough validation for them. So you can give a little bit and then give a little bit more sometimes. It doesn't have to be, we haven't talked about it too much, but for different people, mediumship is kind of like different things. Like for most people, it really is that I see dead people thing. But, for some people it is speaking to source. And, for some people it has to be both in order to qualify as mediumship. So, whatever it is, wherever that message is coming from, obviously, even in expressing and impressing, you want to have that kind of filter of being able to transfer that information in a way where, it's everybody, I was going to say everybody involved is protected, including you, sometimes just even talking to, a disincarnated spirit as opposed to someone who's passed and who's in heaven, you don't want to upset them. They might already be upset. They might really need someone to talk to, It can be that way. It's not always Halloweenish stuff like that. Sometimes it's just a conversation of taking in some information and relaying it in a way where someone gets some peace. That's, you know, the definition of mediumship is something that like bridges a gap, or a medium is something that bridges the gap between one thing and another, you know. So it's not just about connecting people with departed ones, you know. It's about bridging the gap between what you see and what you say in a way that's helpful. And like I said, if you have to, ask. Contemplate that until we meet again.